capacity by current design standards, and this culvert will be replaced by a 2,500 by 1830 corrugated steel pipe arch. Culverts number 4, 6, and 8 will require clean out of the drain bottom to achieve sufficient hydraulic capacity by current design standards. Our estimate of the total cost of the proposed work, including the cost of the engineer's report and all incidental expenses, is $1,039,785. The estimate provided in this report was prepared according to current material and installation prices as of the date of this report. In the event of any delays from the time of filing the report by the engineer to the time of tendering the work, it is understood that the estimate of cost is subject to inflation. And as noted, the meeting tonight does not deal with assessment issues and assessment appeals, but only the technical aspects of the report. If the report is adopted by council, there will be a second meeting called the quarter revision, where assessment questions will be answered and any assessment appeals will be heard and decided. Okay, that's all for myself.
I just want to mention one thing. The town of Tecumseh, it was a joint project with them. They weren't able to attend tonight. I got an email from Alessia. She wasn't able to attend tonight. But I thank the guys for their presentation, and I guess we could open it up for any questions or council questions. Yeah.
I'll open up to council first. Councilor Reno.
Thank you, Your Worship. What is the approximate percentage that the town of LaSalle owns of this drain? Or not the town itself, but how much of this drain is within our municipal boundary?
I can answer that. We don't have an exact percentage of how much the town owns through this drain, but it's basically the right of ways, which are Disputed Road, Huron Church Road, Broderick Road, and Howard is where the boundary between town of LaSalle and town of Tecumseh starts. So midway between Howard and going west.
And then as far as, just to clarify as well, as far as the actual length, so 4.3 kilometers out of the total 6, let me get it exactly here, of the total 6.09. So you're roughly, I'm going to say about 70% of the drain length. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? No. Any member of the audience who would like to speak or ask any questions at this time? I'm going to have, if you would like to speak, I just have you come up and give your name and address, please.
Hi, my name's Dave Klingon. I live at 6355 Howard Avenue.
Can you spell your last name, please?
CLINGAN.
Okay, go ahead.
How are you determining how the banks are going to be shaped on this and what trees are coming down or vegetation's coming out?
Thank you. Yeah. Shane, you can just stay there.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks.
As far as the amount of disturbance to the drain banks, the hydraulic capacity of the entire 6 kilometers worth of drain was assessed. And so the only areas where we'll be cutting into or modifying the drain banks are those where the existing capacity is not adequate. And so those disturbances, like I mentioned, to try and keep the disruption to a minimum, will only be cutting from one side of the bank and leaving the other bank undisturbed. As far as the actual tree removals are concerned, again, our best efforts are to try and leave all trees where possible. And so as far as the disruption of the bank, only those trees that are required to be removed to allow for proper regrading and providing of the required capacity are going to be removed as part of the project.
Okay. I live on Howard, so between Howard and here in line, Road 7, what are you changing?
You're between, Howard to which section?
To here in line, which is County Road 7.
So again, from
Just turn your mic on, please. Thanks.
Yep. So from, again, from Howard back to Huron Church, the access will be from the north side and the drain bank disruption. Yeah, so again, it is broken down in the report with which drain bank will be disturbed at each section here. Just have to locate that. That would be from station. Yeah, so from that section, from Huron Church to Howard is going to be the south bank that would be disturbed.
And by disturbed, what do you mean? Like, are you putting it on a different angle or something?
Everything would be, if, again, in that section, if there's any required added capacity, all that would be done would be cutting a removal of any trees only as required in the areas where the drain itself needs to be widened. And the drain banks would all be reestablished to a stable side slope that can be maintained by the municipality. So you have.
Yeah.
Looking here, so we're in this section. 200.
I'm just reading the second one right here.
Yeah, so for the majority in your location, the capacity of the drain is adequate. So there's really not a lot of disturbance other than clean out of brush and any debris within the drain that would be obstructing the flow. But there's no substantial or significant drain widening occurring in that area. So any disruptions to the drain banks would be minimal, if anything, in that stretch between Huron Church to Howard.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on up. If you can come just to the microphone and then state your full name and address, please.
I am Lorenzo Costa, and I have a property at east of Disputed Road and north of Kelly Road, which I believe I'm here at the limit or something. I remember I think about a year ago, there was a meeting about this drainage. And the reason because of the cleanup, I will say, or improve the drainage was because of a development, a subdivision on Tecumseh town that rebut in this, drainage. And at that time, there was some kind of criticism saying that because of somebody else outside our jurisdiction, and because they drain on this ditch, we are going to pay too. Now, nowadays, I don't see that anybody's talking about this. we're talking about improve the drainage, this and that, In my situation where I am, the ditch is about 8 feet down, 8 feet down. I don't think they can go lower than that. And so what I'm saying is that right that because of a development outside LaSalle, and because they rebut on this ditch, we have to pay for their benefits?
Okay. Can
that-
I, before I have administration answer your question, can I get your address, please?
Sure. 8090 Disputed Road. It's just at the corner.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. I'll be honest, I'm not sure about any development of Tecumseh or anything like that, but that's not how the assessments work. In the first part, so everyone would be paying for their own assessment. This is the first I've heard about this development. I'm not too sure what that is.
Oh, there was at that meeting. That was the reason why. I don't know where you were, but we were here. And that was some kind of.
But and needless
Okay.
to say, everyone who pays their share based on the essential water that they produce. So you're not paying for their development. Everyone who uses the drain is entitled to use the drain. And based on their size of their area, they pay for the water that they produce that goes into the drain. So you're not paying for Tecumseh's water. They're paying for their own share.
I know, but.
I'll let
Yeah.
Shane speak on it. And one other thing too, and just for the audience as well, is this is mostly to talk about engineering issues with regards to the report. And not so much the financial side. That there'll be another meeting for that. So I'm sure people want to talk about that, but this is more for the engineering and technical. But Shane, I'll let you talk about that quickly.
Before I turn it over to you, if I can have,
If
Thank you.
let's say also, another way to put it. If the property is, let's say, towards the end of the drainage, there is a different kind of assessment. Like if I'm at the beginning or I'm at the end, which I think that's what I am anyway, there will be a different kind of assessment, or we have to talk about this in another meeting.
Maybe I can answer the
Yeah.
couple questions that you
Yes.
had through your worship. When it comes to development, perhaps I don't believe there's any development as part of this drainage project that was assessed into here. We have had other drainage meetings over the past couple of years that have been initiated as a result of development, but any benefit to that developer, any work that has to happen on a drain for a development or any property that's special to that property, they pay 100% of that cost. So if there's anything additional that would have to be done theoretically for development or any benefit, no residents would pay for that downstream. That's all assessed to that one property owner that's getting that special benefit. The second question regarding where you're located along the drain, it does change as you move up and down the drain. So if you're at the top end of the drain, you use more of that drain, you're going to have a higher assessment than someone at the very bottom that's only using a small portion of that drain. They'll have a lower assessment.
Does interfere or just it's the fact that I have overflow pond in my property?
Maybe Shane can take that one.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so yeah, and again, I will just remind everyone that anything to do with the actual assessments, that's not the purpose or the intent of this meeting. It's to discuss the design aspects of the project itself. And specifically, I noted you had mentioned your property was along Disputed north of Kelly Road. So that area would actually be assessed directly to the Taylor Gun Drain. So that the project, a previous project you may have noted could have been associated with that drain. The only portion of the fourth concession drain that you're utilizing is the section west of Disputed Road, the very downstream outlet, so that perhaps the subdivision that you're referencing could have been associated with that Taylor gun. But like Jonathan had noted, this project was initiated as a drain cleanout and just reestablishing a adequate capacity throughout the entire length of the 6-kilometer drain. It was not initiated by any one developer for any purpose of increased density or anything associated with any developments.
But a subdivision developed in Tecumseh does not rebut on that drainage?
I unfortunately don't know which development you're referencing, so I can't really answer that directly.
Anyway.
Also, you were asking, sir, if there's different assessments, because if you're at the end of the drain versus upstream of the drain, each property is assessed based on how much of the drain they use. So if you're at the very downstream end, you're only being assessed of what's downstream of you. You're not being assessed anything
I see.
upstream.
I think on the others.
Yeah.
Okay. So, for well, it depends. First, this has to be accepted, which I think it will be, because, there's much money already spent for this investment on this in cleaning. But another thing that I want to just say, because all over LaSalle, in a certain amount, all the property will go to the different ditches and drainage. Why we don't have then a tax on drainage instead of, hitting just, I think it's 300 owner, I believe so. I think that's what, right? Yeah. Why we don't have that? I mean, this is for the council too.
Yes, I say, I don't think they can really answer that
No,
question.
I can only reply just by saying that the project's initiated under the Drainage Act, which is government legislation that allows
Sure.
any required improvements to any drains throughout the entire municipality to be upgraded to an adequate condition as required to provide proper drainage to all the residents. It's not something that's addressed under taxation.
But the property tax that we pay, why does it not include this? We are all farms going to different ditches, whatever. This is the one that we are talking about. But from the property tax, why is not paid for this?
Sir, so unfortunately, that's not something we can address during this meeting. My CEO will give you kind of a little answer to that, but this is just really to consider the design, what's being put forward at this point, not the assessment or anything like that.
Okay.
Yes, what you're describing is a drainage aspect of a tax rate. And while some municipalities are moving to that in Ontario, most municipalities still follow the Drainage Act when it comes to drainage. So I understand your point in terms of at some point, everybody's water goes everywhere. But at this point, again, the municipality follows what most municipalities do in Ontario in assessing each individual property owner separately based on the Drainage Act aspect. Now, that's again, the assessment side has been stated many times today. It is the financial side. I know it's sometimes difficult for folks to understand that the process as it's designed is that you talk about the solution first, and then you talk about how much it costs. So today we're talking about the solution. What is the solution for the drainage? And then there will be a subsequent meeting to talk about how the assessment works and what the costs are.
Like I say, in the last, I've been here maybe 35 years. That's the first time I'm confronting with this, not me, just everybody else too. And I thought the property tax would cover this. It's why we pay property tax in a farm then? Why? Why?
Again, it's just the system that's in Ontario. I can only tell you that that's the rules of the Municipal Act, and that the farm taxes are 25% of what residential taxes are, and that's what you're paying for.
Thank you.
Councillor Deputy Mayor Capata.
Thank you through your worship. Gentlemen, I've read the report and I understand. One thing I always want to ask is if we do nothing, what from an engineering perspective is going to happen to these properties? What's going to happen to the water? What's going to happen to, if I use the word flooding or inundation of water, whatever the term is, if we do nothing, then what's the outcome?
Okay, so yeah, as noted in in the report, our recommendations are for the replacement of two existing culverts that are undersized or inadequate condition. Those culverts in their current condition have potential for restricting flow upstream, which during any major storm event could cause flooding to any of the adjacent properties. Abutting the drain or any of the upstream properties as well would not have an adequate outlet for their stormwater. And the same thing goes with the improvements to the actual cross section of the drain. The sections that we've noted in the report as being deficient in capacity during any major rainfall event have the potential, if they aren't improved at this time, to cause flooding, surface flooding across any adjacent farm properties, any abutting properties, as well as any of the upstream properties at any of those sections along the drain which don't provide the adequate capacity to current design standards.
Supplemental, your worship, if the work is done, how long, and again, and I realize that things change and I read the report, how long before we would have to readdress this based on all of the modeling and everything else? And I realize that things change in the 100-year storms, we talk about change and everything fluctuates. I just want to be able to understand if we go forward, when will we be back at this? And I realize, gentlemen, that you might have a model for tree growth and for habitat growth from Phragmites and things of that nature. I just want to make sure that I understand if we don't, and if we do, when will we have to revisit it?
So unfortunately, as you noted, there's not a definitive timeline as far as the major infrastructure improvements. The recommendations outlined in the report would take care of all of the structurally deficient culverts and any of the sections of the drain that don't have adequate capacity. Those major improvements at this time would take the entire 6 kilometers of drain up to current design standards. And like you had noted, there's no real way to predict any potential increase for the 100-year type design storms and those major events that we do experience. But as far as major infrastructure improvements, everything would be brought up to current standards, and the only maintenance of the drain that would be anticipated in the near future over the next 10-20 years would just be minor drain clean out, like use upkeep of Phragmites and things like that.
Thank you, Worship.
Okay, anyone else like to ask any questions at this time? Please come forward and state your full name and address, please.
Sure, Craig Wood. I'm at 8520 Disputed Road. So I've got station roughly 1 plus, I think 100 up till 1 plus 600. Just wondering if you could go through those couple sections, specifically section 1 plus 200, because there's really no access there. I don't know if it's possible to bring that up on the screen for everybody else's benefit sitting here.
I don't believe that they have the full drawing set. I don't know if you have it handy, Mike. Station access.
And it's the lot 7 side.
So from station, so okay, on the lot 7 side.
I'm lot 79, so that whole triangular perimeter.
Okay, so from the station there abutting your property, access would be from, in those, that station range would be from the north side. And
Sure.
access would actually be coming, from the opposite direction from Broderick Road,
Yep, through lot 301.
correct?
And then specifically lot or section 1+200, there's no access really, so you'd probably have to remove a decent amount of trees to get in there, or because it's brush on both sides.
And again, so that section there, we'd be working from the side of the drain, the north side opposite your property.
Sure.
So access would be coming in again from Broderick. So to access that entire stretch from disputed to the backside of your property
Mhm.
would all be coming off of the north side. So the only tree removals would be those required just to, like you said, just to gain access to the actual property.
Okay. So if you look at section 1+200 on the cross section.
Mhm.
What happens to the slopes on the south side where I am? Do you evaluate the slope? Because there's some pretty steep slopes on my side. Wonder if you're gonna have to cut into those as well.
So again, in that case, it is addressed as a station by station type review.
Mhm.
But our intent is only to address the or remove any bank failures from the north side and extend northerly to provide the capacity required in that section. Any bank failures on the south side would just be addressed using just restabilizing the banks, whether it may be any sort of riprap or just reseeding, regrading as minimal amounts of work on the south side.
Okay, and then any dead trees or brush that's on the south side, will those be removed at the same time?
Correct, yeah, the brushing will occur on both sides as required to make sure that there's nothing restricting capacity of the drain itself. So there will be a significant drain clean out as far as removal of brush and debris.
Okay, and then machinery will come from north side. And then at station approximately 600, which is just the end of my property, it'll switch to the south side.
Correct, yeah, from the backside of your property, the 1+600 or 1+575. From everything from that point to Broderick Road does switch to the south side for access.
Okay, and my guess is you'd have to, that's fairly heavily brushed by the
Mhm.
by the drains. You'll probably have to remove a majority of that, I would think. There's some large mature trees there, but the rest of it's all fairly.
Yeah,
you know,
and
past
in
10
all,
years.
in all cases, the selection process of which side of the drain to access from was selected to try and minimize the disruption to any trees and any property that would be affected by equipment access to the site.
Okay. I think that's it, other than like how long something like that would take.
As far as the actual construction,
Sure.
I would assume something in the range of 2 months. And again, each section of the drain is only going to see roughly a few week period fronting their individual property, but the entire scope of the work being around $1 million construction project, I would anticipate about 2 months of construction time.
Okay. And then you said you're gonna go through costs later. So for example, page 25 I'm on, like what all the breakdown of what each one of those means.
Correct, yeah, anything associated with the actual assessments of the actual the work. So yeah, so your schedule of assessment on sheet 25, all of those items are addressed at a later time. Any concerns relative to your assessment can be addressed at the quarter revision meeting, which will be the next stage in the process.
Okay, it's more just for an explanation of what the columns are, regardless of the values.
Okay, I can provide a little bit of clarity to that.
Did you want to maybe do
If,
that after
yeah.
the meeting, have a
fine.
one-on-one,
Yeah,
just to
Yeah,
kind of
that's
explain?
that's fine.
Any other questions?
I think I'm good, thank you.
Anyone else would like to speak? Please come forward. Just 1 second, sir. Yeah, that's okay. If I can get your full name and address, please.
Jim Rodriguez, 8380 Broderick Road. I'd just like to ask the representatives from Spencer, in your learned opinion, the work that you're proposing to do, what kind of percentage improvement overall, based on, say, an average year, you might expect to see? If you could put a percentage increase and improvement as to where the drain is right now.
I'm not 100% clear on what you're, as far as
Well,
an improvement of its,
Yeah, like we have the situation where we're at now. So if you do this work over the next year or two, what kind of improvement percentage wise might we see from where we're at right now?
I guess I can't quantify a direct improvement as a percentage. It's the intent of the work is to limit the potential for any concerns of flooding upstream. So it will reduce the likelihood of any flooding upstream, but to quantify a percentage is difficult. The intention of this work is just to ensure that the drain provides adequate capacity throughout, and also again, by completing this work at this time, it prevents compounding of any of the issues that we're observing in the drain. So certainly if this project wasn't completed at this time, the potential for upstream flooding would only increase as time went on.
So it's the upstream flooding that we have to be concerned about. The further upstream the various properties are, they're in the most danger of flooding.
So when I say upstream, I'm referring to any work that's done. If that specific work is to address any concern at one location, whether it be a deficient culvert or an inadequate cross section that needs to be widened, any improvement done in that area will benefit all residents upstream of that area. So I guess I can't say that there's a specific concern for the upstream residents. When I say upstream, I just mean that anyone upstream of the work being completed benefits from that work.
And the drain flows from Tecumseh to Disputed.
Correct.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. If I can get your full name and address, please.
7555 Broderick.
So if you want to have a seat just at the microphone there.
Okay.
Thank you so much. We didn't hear that. What was the name and address?
Dragicevic, Uli, 7555 Broderick.
And what was the name?
DRAGICEVIC.
No, sorry, if you go a little slower, one more time. Just yeah.
DRAGICEVIC.
Okay, go ahead.
The pipes are plugged up. About 6 households. And it's been in solution for the last 5 years. This year they dug the ditch, cleaned the ditch and tried to clean the pipe. But the pipe is full, that much.
I'm not.
Supervisor was there and everybody was there. They said it's in solution, but some neighbors, they want to pay. Some don't got no money. So the pipes are filled up.
Hey, sir, I think you're talking about the roadside ditch.
Yeah, this ditch on the road, yeah.
Okay, I'll talk to you after the meeting, because I don't think that issue is going to be reflected inside this engineer's report. Is that correct?
I don't know about this.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, that's no problem. We can talk about that after the meeting though.
They said it's a solution for the last 5 years, but it's plugged up. That's
Yeah.
all.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk right after the meeting. Yep.
Okay. I assume that's all for today. So council, there is a recommendation before you that the report of the manager of engineering dated October 18th, 2022, PW 1/2023 regarding the fourth concession drain engineers report be received. And that council adopts the fourth concession drain engineers report dated August 5th, 2022, authorized by RC Spencer Associates Incorporated. And that bylaw 8764 being a bylaw for the repair and improvements of the fourth concession drain be provisionally adopted. Counselor Desjarlais. So move, support by Counselor Reno. All in favor? Okay, so in bylaws, we have a recommendation for the first and second reading of 8764. Can I get a mover on that? Counselor Burns, support. Counselor Reno, all in favor? That moves as well. And then if I can get the confirmatory bylaw 8765 for first, second, and third reading. And finally passed. Counselor Desjarlais and Deputy Mayor Akapato, all in favor? That is moved. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
I live on Gulfview. I was involved with the Shepview train 25 years ago. So when you ask about time frames, it needs to be cleaned again. Living on the street, I would have never thought I would have had to pay $1,000 at that time, but every person that drainage area touch has to pay his or fair share. That maybe clear up a couple questions for people out there, but time frame is roughly 20 to 25 years. And then I believe they'll be going into the next couple of years to do the same thing that they're doing in your area, brush them out, because trees will grow back in those ditches. So it's the only comments I have. Thank you for allowing me, Your Worship.
Thank you. And this meeting is adjourned.